Rich from Review Tech USA was right. The Steam Deck is the most innovative piece of technology since the iPhone.
This may be the most important tech device since the iPhone.
That just means that the Steam Deck to the gaming landscape is what the iPhone is for smartphones. I know the Switch came first, but the BlackBerry came first too. Portable and handheld gaming is honestly my preferred way to play. I get it's an incredibly underpowered way to play games, but my really low attention span doesn't really allow me to just sit for a while and play video games. I'm being productive. Which honestly kind of works for me because the Steam Deck battery life is... it's not good. It's no bueno. It offers this much My Hero Academia points for the battery, and I only really play for 30 minutes at a time anyway, so this is kind of perfect for what I need. I remember around 2012, I think the Nvidia Shield was being announced. It was a portable Android device with a clamshell and a 360 controller format, and this was pretty f***ing cool. For a while, it seemed like handheld gaming was just done. The 3DS was starting to slow down. Sony had completely abandoned the Vita. The only handheld or mobile games were these shitty iOS and Android games. But Nintendo put on a very high stakes bet on the Switch, and now Valve is doubling down on the Steam Deck. Okay, got my entire life savings right here. I'm gonna place all of this money on a bet that the PlayStation Vita is going to be the highest selling video game portable console of all time. And I'll be totally honest, this has become my favorite console ever. It already plays most of my favorite games, and some of the games I like a lot, they play weird on this device. Why does Disney Infinity play well, but Prototype just doesn't work? I think why I have Disney Infinity is a better question. What is verified though is great. LEGO Star Wars Skywalker Saga is outstanding. It plays so much better than the Switch version, which I don't think anyone didn't see coming, but still. And Spider-Man is a surreal experience on the Steam Deck. We finally got a legit Spider-Man open world on a portable. That doesn't count. But Miles Morales always kind of crashes my deck.
Respect every single Spider-Man in here. Does that include...
And Halo MCC feels like a dream. This takes me all the way back to the Halo on DS days. But because it's a Linux portable, you can even download the Epic Game Store or Ubisoft Connect here. But if you don't want to go through the weird ways of downloading Epic Games or Ubisoft Connect, you can just put Windows on it. Valve teaches you how to do it too. I hear Windows isn't really that well optimized for devices like these, but you can still do it. Or you could just play this like a console with a USB-C dock. I got a JSOX dock from Amazon because I had some gift cards, and so far, no complaints. I think there's another model made by JSOX where you can actually put an NVMe SSD in there so you could put on your entire Steam library if you wanted to. I do love when this thing is docked. It looks identical to a Wii U gamepad. And this also feels like a Wii U gamepad with how comfortable it is. And this is a wet dream for you if you love emulation. Linux lets you do anything you want, so putting your ROMs on this bad boy is really easy. They made it even easier by adding RetroArch on the Steam store. There's no back alley way to do this. This is just on Steam. I just downloaded Ubisoft Connect on this with a few tweaks. It took a little bit longer than it would have on the PC, but that's because this is Linux and not Windows. Oh my God. Holy shit. It worked. That's actually super sick. Keep in mind, this isn't a console. This is a PC. There are a lot of powerful specs in this device, so you got to keep it cool in some way, you know, so that way your computer doesn't freeze. And this thing sounds like a fucking jet engine. The fans on the Steam Deck put the fans on the PS4 Pro to shame. The fans act like they're always kicking on maximum overdrive. Ever since the announcement of the Steam Deck, it was of course immediately compared to the Switch. And I understand the Steam Deck is a lot more powerful and superior to the Switch, but it's not totally black and white like that. In all honesty, the Switch is so much easier to just use and set up compared to the Steam Deck. I've been playing Nintendo consoles for over a decade. That button layout on the Switch is just my default. So switching over to the Steam Deck where they have the Xbox layout was a little confusing for me. It took me a while to actually set up the Steam Deck because of this. And I think Valve knew that there would be players like me, so they added this. I could just use the Nintendo layout if I wanted to. That's so sick. And plus you get an official dock with the system if you're not a bitch and get the light.
I love the Switch Lite. Check it out. That's in my fucking pants. I've done this many times because I wear pants.
And like I said earlier, the JSOX one is more than fine if you just want to save a couple bucks. The Steam Deck is gonna obviously be heavier than the Switch, but that's not a bad thing. It's not a heavy device, but there's a really good weight to it. I actually find this really comfortable to hold in my hands. I think that also has to do something with the grip, the way your fingers wrap around the Steam Deck. The Switch is only comfortable to hold in handheld if you have a Joy-Con replacement or some grip. I understand that haptics are a big thing, and on the Steam Deck they're done really well, especially on the trackpads. They feel so nice, it's like a fingertip massage. The rumble feels pretty good too. I'm sure it's similar enough to the HD rumble on Joy-Con. I'm not some rumble connoisseur, I just know I like it on the Steam Deck. For the Switch, I just use the Nixie split joypads. It's not HD rumble, it's just kind of there, but they feel similar enough to the Steam Deck, really. I don't even really notice the difference between the Nixie joypads and the Nintendo Joy-Con. Like, there's nobody out there going to do an 8-hour-long video essay on controller haptics.
Salutations, friends. Today I'm going to be talking about why the Nintendo Joy-Con is the best video game haptics ever. And yes, I am recording this in my mother's basement.
And all the games on Switch are actually going to work. Like, yeah, a lot of the third-party games, even some of the first-party ones, are gonna run like dog, but at least you know it's just gonna launch. And the Steam Deck does have ratings, but they're not always super accurate. Miles Morales is supposed to be verified, but it's the only game that needs to constantly connect to the Steam cloud before even starting up, and it always crashes my fucking deck. It's so annoying. Sonic Adventure 2 is playable, but it's got this strange Windows XP launcher that won't even start at the press start menu, even when I press every single button. And Call of Duty Exaggerated Swagger Ops 2 multiplayer and zombies is unsupported, but it runs perfectly fine. But I would not download any of these multiplayers if I were you. I know AB is doing some really weird shit with their old games. And that goes to my point. There's a lot of Activision Blizzard and EA games that don't work online because they require the Windows anti-cheat that doesn't work on Linux. I kind of ran into this issue with Master Chief Collection and Plants vs. Zombies Battle for Neighborville. I couldn't play the multiplayer on MCC even when I had already picked the anti-cheat launcher. And why is this a fucking thing? Who's gonna not pick the anti-cheat launcher? They want to play these games online. Why would you not? I don't know. What? I had to look up a video online that had me switching to the desktop mode to get this all working. It's just clunky, really. What I'm really trying to say about all this, even with the ratings, you have to come up with your own conclusion. Some of the warnings on playable are only like small text. If it's unsupported, it means it hasn't been tested. If it's got full control of support, most likely you're gonna be fine, unless it's an AB or EA game. But one huge advantage that the Steam Deck has over the Switch is all of Steam. They're the biggest game distributor of all time, and it is going to be terrible for your wallet.
Sorry you had to go through that.
If one game doesn't work the way you want to, there's always going to be a ton more for you to play. Or just alternate ways to play the game. Or it's just gonna end up in the unplayed games like 90% of most Steam users' library.
I'm only human after all. I'm only human after all. Don't put the blame on me.
But a little while ago, I actually went to the Level Up Expo and I saw this really cool indie game called Victory Heat Rally. It was a racing game and this looked so sick. It looked like Mario Kart meets Proteus. I was asking the developers if they had plans bringing it to the Switch and all they could say was just summer. It's not on the eShop, you can't look at it really on the Switch, but it's on Steam Early Access. There are so many games on Steam Early Access that aren't on any other console, so you could really play these anywhere with the deck. So right here, I wanted to compare how different the Switch and the Steam Deck played games, but it's not entirely fair. I had said earlier that the deck is far more powerful than the Switch, so obviously it's gonna play games better, but these two devices do two very different things. The Switch is meant to be a device that stands on its own. It's not like how the Wii U and the 3DS were companions to one another. This is what Nintendo wants you to play your games on. The Steam Deck is meant to be a companion device, and that's not a bad thing. This is a damn good platform. My favorite ever. What this is meant for is when you're away from your computer or when your computer's already in use. And there's proof here. Whenever you're on your Steam Deck while the computer is on, it shows a little tab that says, hey, you could stream your games on the deck. It just kind of makes it a Wii U at that point. But the Switch and the deck do a lot of the same things too, like play some of the same games. Both are handhelds that connect to TVs, but they're not out to compete with one another. The PlayStation and the Xbox are out to compete for the same demographic. You're more likely to buy one over the other. The deck and the Switch demographics are leagues different. It's like, hey, you have a Switch, you'll also like a Steam Deck. And let's be real, you bring a Switch to the function with Mario Kart or Smash, you've saved the party. And if you bring a Steam Deck to a party, you're playing that by yourself in the bathroom. And because the Steam Deck is just a really souped up Switch, Let's see how it functions on a TV. My first game was Halo Master Chief Collection. It didn't look the best at first, but like 2 minutes into a match, I forgot I was on the Steam Deck and just thought I was on an Xbox. But I did find it a little difficult to connect my Xbox controller to the deck. I think that's because I haven't used my wireless controllers in a very long time and I wasn't doing it right. And I actually try to use Miles Morales with this, but it keeps fucking crashing. I feel like I keep brushing off the fact that this is a mini PC. You could just use this as like a portable desktop if you wanted to. It can run your favorite streaming services like Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus. You could use it as like the family computer, maybe bring it to your campus and play games in the downtime or work on assignments. You could do a lot with this little device. The only reason I'm not really playing it as much is because of Zelda. I also don't really have much to complain about the deck. I just don't really like how you can't download games or updates while the deck's in sleep mode or you're playing in another game. It's like the Switch does that, why can't you? But man, I love this thing. This is one addicting piece of tech.